Hey Yogi, welcome to class. If you're new to the channel, I'm Ree. This is Burls and this is Drakey. And if you are returning, we love practicing with you on YouTube. Welcome back. Before we jump into this Vinyasa practice, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do. It just helps the three of us to grow our little spot in the YouTube world. Okay, so for class today, I do have a blanket and I would also recommend just having a block nearby. I'm not convinced we'll use the block. We certainly will use the blanket. Doesn't need to be a yoga blanket, and it's also not essential, but it might just be nice to use a couple of times throughout the practice to elevate the hips for some of what we're going to do. This is a feel-good flow, so kind of a bit of a, I guess, just me sharing my personal practice with you today. So there's not a lot of well, there's no planning that's gone into this apart from the fact that we're going to do a little bit that I know that I like a blanket for, so I'm offering that for you too. So that being said, if you want to grab your blanket, grab it, and then meet me at the back of the mat in Sukhasana, easy seat. So I'm going to sit on the blanket just so that my hips get a little bit of lift here to help in these early moments. And then cross your, start with your right leg in front and cross your knees, cross your shins so that you have the cross of the shins roughly halfway up each shin. So kind of like a strict cross. And yeah, we'll start with the right. Just notice straight away, is this your goofy side or is this your good side? So for me, my left hip is my much more open hip. So I always have the left on the bottom. So just notice, these are all the little things that we pick up about our own bodies along the way, which is the beauty of the yoga asana practice. So once you've come to, a pretty strict, I would say, Sukhasana, crisscross, then sit up nice and tall. Your hands can just fall to your knees or to your thighs if that feels nice. And I often say this, but if you're looking for a grounding energy in these moments, then palms down. And if you're looking to maybe open to receiving some energy from the universe, then palms facing up. So kind of usually depends for me what time of day it is. This is quite late for me to be filming, so I'm needing some of the good stuff, I think. So you choose a seated place that's good for you, and then sit nice and long. And by that I just mean try and lift up and out of your sit bones and lower your shoulders down your back. Imagine that you could just make the gap between your shoulders and the bottom of your ears just like a couple of millimeters longer by being nice and long through the neck, keeping the chin pretty neutral so that we keep the cervical spine neutral, the back of our neck. At this point, I always invite you to take a soft gaze and bring your attention inward or completely close the eyes, whatever is feeling good for you today. Take a couple of breaths just to arrive here. We're not going to be in this breath for too long, so let's say 5 breaths. You're welcome to engage Ujjayi breath, the victorious breath, if you would like. Or you can just breathe nice and long and deep in and out through your nose. Notice how your body is feeling in these few opening breaths as we start to try to bring closer the connection we have to the breath and our movement and our intention. And as we mark the start of what will aim to be our mindful movement around our mat rather than going into autopilot, which we've all been there. We all do that. Wherever you are, take one more nice long inhale through the nose. Feel your rib cage get a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, a little bit wider. And then open the mouth, sigh out. Nice, blinking the eyes open if they're closed. We're going to change the cross of the legs. So this time the left leg is going to go in front of the right, and you'll come into that, you know, I say strict, it's not strict, I'm not there, I can't see what you're doing, but roughly have the shins cross in at the middle of each leg. And we're just doing this to balance out really, and just to allow both hips to gently start to come alive. It might be nice from here to just walk your hands forward a little bit and push into your fingertips to really help you to kind of fold at the hips. And by that I mean trying to get the front of the hip points to go down towards the mat. So very often when we kind of fold, we might do this, which is kind of rounding into the back to create the vision, to create the aesthetic of a fold. But actually what we want with the fold, for a lot of the cases, is for the hips to come forward. And then kind of whatever's going to happen with the back is pretty irrelevant from there on in my opinion. If you come forward and you're really folding from the hips, then feel free to just sway from side to side, waking up those hips. Walk the fingertips out a little bit further, but keep pressing back into your sit bones. Try to keep your sit bones on the mat or on your blanket. Try not to let them lift at any point through this. Nice, let's walk the hands over to the left and take a little bit of a fold over to the left side. Feel the right side, just get a little bit longer from right hip bone to right pinky finger. Engaging your breath here, really seeking to make a strong connection between your movement and your breath. Next inhale, walk the hands back through the center, take them all the way around to the right. Let those left fingertips go way ahead of you and try and create nice length here through your left side body. And if, like me, you're tight in the side body, then really find somewhere where you can be grounded into the left sit bone, but really seeking to open through the left side. Nice. Come back to center, walk the hands back in, and then taking the hands behind you, they can point back or to the side, and cross the legs. We'll come into a little tabletop here, so we're going to use this as a little bit of a wrist warming. So lifting your hips nice and high, your shoulder blades are sort of coming together here to allow your rib cage to lift. We're just going to rock forwards and back. If this feels too intense at this early stage, which we are super early, just drop your butt and do exactly the same. So kind of leaning forward and back, but just rolling. We just want to try and get into the shoulder a bit, into the wrists. Just a different way to start our movement without necessarily being in a quadruped pose on the knees. Nice, let the hips drop to the mat. I'm gonna unroll my blanket just one for this next bit. I'm actually gonna come as well to face you. So if your blanket was kind of pretty, don't know what that is there, pretty heavily wrapped, unwrap it a little bit because we want to lift tall, but we don't need to be too high here. And then bring your seat bones to the edge of your blanket, take your legs nice and wide, come into a seated wide leg forward fold. Really flex the toes back towards you. I'm actually going to sit off my mat behind you because I don't like, if you're anything like me, you don't like to have the backs of your ankles, your heels on the floor. I find that really tough on those bones. I have quite bony ankles, so if you're joining me in that, then just move yourself so that your feet can be on the mat. Really flex the toes here. Remove any dog hair that you're acquiring if you're like me. And then just come into this nice folded shape. Just go to a place again where you feel like you're taking the fold deep within the hip rather than in the lower back, because this is where we're looking for the hinge. We're looking to create the hinge from our hip joint. So just settling into this wide leg forward fold here. You can flex and point the feet a few times. You might find that that helps you to just wiggle essentially your thigh bone into a place where you can go a little bit deeper into the stretch. And this is a good place that if you did have a block and you're feeling like the ground is far away, but you want to have your forearms on the ground, you could pop your block there. That again is going to keep you probably in a bit more of a fold from the hip rather than trying to take it into the back. So just be mindful of that. There's nothing wrong with that, but we're just looking to really hinge in the hips here for this session. Make sure that the toes and the feet aren't caving in. Try and open them up so you're really rotating those thigh bones out and away from the center line. It's just going to help you here. Take a couple of breaths. We're not in any rush here. We're going to have a little bit of a long hold and then we'll get moving. Feel free to sway from side to side. Feel free to, walk over to the right and take a bit of a fold. Just notice if that left sit bone wants to lift. It always happens to me. So if that's happening to you too, just go less into the fold, pull it back a little bit. Maybe swaying over to the left if you went to the right, the other side. And again, try and keep your right sit bone grounded. For some of us, it's really tough, me included. Some people that are a bit more open than I am will find that a lot easier to do. But if you are a bit like me and don't have as much range, then you need to really work to keep those sit bones grounded. So, be mindful of that. Feel free to sway however serves you here. We're just looking to wake up. Wake up the hips, wake up the legs. Wake up the feet and the toes even. 2 more breaths here. Nice. From here, walk your hands back in and then come onto all fours. We're just going to get onto all fours so that we can move on forward. Actually, move your blanket, but keep it near to you. It might be handy. And then from here, tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. And notice how this first down dog feels. So this one feels a bit more accessible to me than it usually would. And that's just because we've done a little bit of time there in the legs. So just notice what's showing up for you here. Feel free to walk the dog out, pedal in the feet. Think about really gripping the mat with the fingers here. And then from here, roll forward into a high plank pose. And then just start to circle the wrists. So we're using this again as a bit of a wrist warm up. So if this feels like it's a little bit intense, of course, drop down to your knees. Feel free to sort of sway here what you're doing, or change, I should say, what you're doing with the palms. So you could pick them up, put them down. It's also a nice way to just wake up through the midsection of the body, of the glutes. Ready for practice. Keep gripping the mat and just doing whatever you need to do here to really wake up the wrists, wake up the forearms, wake up the shoulders, and then push back when you're done. Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Walk your hands back to your feet and then take your feet roughly out sort of as wide as your mat or whatever you need so that you can come into your low yogi squat. If your heels don't meet the mat, this is a great place for your blanket. You pop your blanket under your heels. I'll show you. And that's just going to be, it's just going to help to get your heels to the floor. So you could roll your blanket up as much as you needed to and allow you to kind of get into it without being on the tiptoes. So do that if you need to. If you don't have the blanket, roll the back of your mat up as well. They're both going to give you the same the same outcome. Feel free to rock from side to side for a little bit. And then from here, take a deep inhale, lift your chest. On your exhale, fold forward, straighten the knees. Inhale, lift the chest, lift your heart, lift your gaze. Sit back into the Malasana. Exhale, forward fold, Funky Uttanasana. Inhale, back to Malasana, really pick up the heart as you arrive. And exhale, fold down. A couple more like that at your own pace. We're just trying to get into the legs before we get into our moving, flowing sequence, however that's going to show up. Nice. From here, if you've got your blanket, feel free to just pop it off to the side and then walk your hands back out. Walk your feet back to neutral, come into your downward facing dog. From here, roll forward into a high plank pose and take a vinyasa. Half or full push-up. Drop knees, drop forearms, coming into upward facing dog. First one, so really think about picking up the heart. Bend the arms a little bit if you need to allow you to really lift your chest. Exhale, roll it back. Down dog. Nice, roll through into high plank pose. Drop the knees or keep them lifted for another vinyasa. Just getting the blood pumping a little bit. Reminding the body of the way. One more, roll through into high plank pose. And take your vinyasa, half or full. And by half, I just mean taking the push-ups with the knees down. Still going to get lots of benefit by doing that. Nice. From here, lift your right leg nice and high, 3-leg dog. Think about really straightening through the leg here. So my legs tend to never be straight without force. So really work, if that's you, to keep the back of the knee long. Come high onto the ball of the left toes and then keeping that leg as straight as you possibly can, and the arms, you're going to come all the way forward, plant that right foot to the outside of the right hand, drop that left knee down. Inhale, open it up, take the twist. On your exhale, bend your elbow, bring the forearm on the inside of the right foot. On the inhale, open it up as you bring that left foot in towards the butt, but you're not touching it, you're just seeking for it. Exhale, take it back. Inhale, open it up, pull that left foot in towards you, and exhale, take a couple of these. So opening, just getting into the shoulder, waking up that left hamstring and glute, and just rocking back and forth. Nice. From here, tuck the back toes under. All 10 toes are going to turn to face the right. You're going to come onto the outer blade of that left foot, setting up for high horizon lunge. Inhale, reach your arm up and away, reach your hips. Imagine that you could get that left hip completely stacked underneath the right. As you exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. The arm can come up and over. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Nice, and exhale to lower. Inhale, sweep your arm up. That right arm is going to go underneath your left armpit. You're probably going to have to move the feet to come into a wide leg forward fold. So exactly the same as we did at the beginning, but obviously standing. And same applies here. We want to come from the fold. We want the fold to come from those hips. So grab your block and put it under your forearms if you'd like that for a bit of extra support. Keep pressing into the outer blade of both feet so you can suction cup the arches up. It's just going to help wake up the legs here. Or just keep them awake. We've already done a bit to wake them up. Nice. From here, come back up, walk the feet back to the top of the mat, and then raise that right leg high into a 3-leg dog. From here, drive the right knee in towards your right eye, hold it there, or take the vinyasa with one leg lifted. So low up, rise, then everything goes back to the usual. Drop knees, drop forearms, come into up dog. Roll back, down dog. Left leg nice and high, high onto the ball of the right toes. Really try and straighten that left leg as much as you can. I always like to flex the foot in the air, but you can flex or point. High on the ball of the right toes, try to open up through the left hip, keeping your arms as straight as you can, keep the leg as straight as you can, and drop it outside of the left foot. Drop the back knee, open up, take the twist. Nice. On your exhale, bend in that left elbow, arm on the inside of the left leg. And then we open and close by closing the gap between the foot and the butt and opening the shoulder. And again, we're just going to do that for a couple of goes. Inhaling as you lift up and open, and exhaling as you close down. Just waking up the shoulder, waking up the posterior chain. Nice. From here, your back, all 10 toes. Actually, forget that. From here, drop your back foot and then roll onto the outer blade of that right foot. Roll onto the outer blade of the left foot. All 10 toes face the left side of the mat, setting up for horizon lunge. Inhale, sweep your left arm up and overhead, pick up the hips. And then exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. Try and get those right hips, or right hip underneath the left this time. And lower. Lift. Really pick up those hips. And lower. Nice. One more, pick it all the way up. That left hand this time is going to go feed under your right armpit, and you're going to come into your wide leg forward fold on the other side. Remember to press into the outer blade of the feet, engaging through the arches of the foot. Use the block under your forearms if you would like for extra support. Maybe you don't need it. Maybe you're going to walk the hands through and let the head just kiss the mat. Lift it up, walk them a bit further back. Do whatever feels good here. This is a feel-good flow. Inhale, lift halfway. And then on your exhale, slowly walk your hands back to the top of the mat. Come into three-leg dog on that left leg lifted. Inhale, drive your left knee into your left eye. Hold it here, or send the left leg back and take the push-up with one leg lifted. Then drop that foot, coming into your vinyasa as regular. Inhale and up dog, and then exhale to downward facing dog. Nice. From here, right leg lifts, three-leg dog. Keep that leg straight. Try and come forward, keeping the arms as straight as you can. Drop the right foot outside the right thumb, open up. Inhale here. Exhale, right arm on the inside of the right foot. And then inhale, just do a couple more of these. So curling in, opening through the right shoulder and curling that left heel into the butt. One more of those, open it up. Nice. Then tuck the back toes, lift the back heel, roll onto the outer blade of both feet point to the right, lower down, and then inhale, high horizon. Exhale, low. Inhale, lift. Exhale, low. Inhale, lift and swivel underneath that left armpit. Come through into the wide leg forward fold again. Stay here if you want, or maybe shuffle the feet forward and walk your hands all the way back. Spike the heels and come down into a seated wide leg forward fold. There's no need to be. You can stay upright if you'd prefer. We're doing exactly the same thing. We just are sitting here. Keep stretching, keep folding deeply, or as deeply as is available to you at this point. If you came down onto the butt with me, we got to get back, which is usually a bit of fun. So you can make two fists. Of course, you can bend the knees, come back up and find your way back up. That's totally cool. Or we'll roll up. So make fists with the hands. The fists are going to go just in between the groin here to help you lift. So I like to have a little bit of momentum here just to push me forward and roll onto the toes, coming back into that wide leg forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. And as you exhale, you're going to come back around. It's never very pretty when the feet are all over the place on the mat. Lift that right leg high, 3-leg dog. From here, drive the right knee into the right eye socket, keep it there. And then drop the back heel down. Coming into this funky side plank, you're going to reach the right leg long. And then bend the right knee, kiss the right tricep. Reach the right leg long and switch. One more. Reach that right leg long. Touch the right tricep. This time, the right foot goes to where your left hand would be so that you can set up for your pigeon pose. And this is a great place for the blanket. So if it's near, you could grab it and pop it underneath you to help with the lift. We want to be active in this sort of first pigeon, so try and have that shin parallel to the front of the mat. It may not allow you to go as deep as usual or as low, but it is going to get into it all, so try and stay lifted for a bit and then maybe come down onto your forearms. Nice. Come back up onto the hands, lift the knee, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee up. We're going to lower the knee and lift it. So lowering and then lift into the center, just really working to open and close that imaginary gate. And then bring the knee back into the center, take the foot long, take a full or a one-legged push-up, drop the knees, drop the forearms, come into your upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Nice stuff. I'm going to turn to face you, otherwise I will be talking for a while with my back to you. So, left leg high, 3-leg dog, nice and long with that left leg. High on the ball of the right toes and send. Trying to keep everything straight. The left foot to the outside of the left hand. Just do your best there. Drop the back knee down. Inhale, just open it up here. Take a bit of a twist. Exhale, left forearm in between the left, next to the left foot. Inhale, open up. This time, curl the hamstring. Exhale, take it back down. Take a couple more of those. Just opening and closing. Nice. Open up. On your next one, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, turn onto the outer blade of both feet. All 10 toes now face the left side. Inhale, sweep up, high horizon. Exhale, lower. Inhale, sweep up. Try and stack those hips one under the other. They're facing to the left and lower. One more. Inhale, sweep it up. This time, feed the left arm underneath your right armpit and we'll go again. So I always like to come forward a little bit so that I land my butt off the mat. But that's just personal preference. So if you come in with me, you're going to walk your hands through, start to spike your heels so that you can lower the butt down. Nice. Feel it out here. Feel free to sway from side to side. Notice if you are kind of entering more territory than you have been, because we've really very quickly done a lot of work into the hips, so maybe they're giving you a little bit more love now. If you're upright, feel free to do whatever feels nice. You could maybe catch hold of the ankles and draw yourself down, and you could do that whether you're seated or whether you're standing. It's your call. Nice, make sure you are keeping check with that breath. It's so easy for it to disappear, but try and come back to it. And then if you're sitting with me, we got to get back up again. So from here, you make your fists, and again, we're going to push off those fists. So push into the floor, come forward, careful your mat doesn't just fly away from you, and then come back to standing in this wide leg shape. Inhale to halfway lift. On the exhale, turn to get back to the top of your mat. The left leg is going to rise. From here, the left knee is going to drive in, and then you're going to come into this sort of funky side plank. So dropping that right heel down and lifting the left foot, and then left knee to left tricep, and out, left knee to left tricep, and out, left knee to left tricep, and foot out. From here, left knee to left tricep, left foot where your right hand would go if you were to plant it down now, and then come into your pigeon. I am really skew-iff on my mat here, so I'm just going to square it up, otherwise it will just mess with my head. And you know, if you do have your blanket, this is a nice place to make the blanket a little bit thicker, and then you can use that to help you really square to the top of the mat. So rather than closing the knee joint and having that foot near the right hip, which you may do a lot, just for this one, see if you can keep that left leg nice and parallel to the top of your mat. If you've been up for a little while and you want to go a little bit deeper onto your forearms or even onto your chest, you can do. Nice. From here, take your hands back underneath the shoulders, move the blanket if you used it. And then again, lifting the back heel, we're going to lower and lift that left knee. So lower down, lift it to the middle. Lower down, lift it to the middle. So we're just opening and closing our imaginary leg gate. Nice. And then on the next one, draw that left knee into the chest, take the left leg long, either drop the left foot or take the push up with it lifted, and then lower the knees. Lower the forearms, come on into upward facing dog. Inhale as you arrive, and exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful stuff. From here, I'm going to just come back to face you. Nice. So for you, you're going to lift your right leg, take it all the way up to the top of the mat, and then turn back into that wide leg forward fold. So we've been here so much today. So really feel like you could find more space here in the legs, in the groins, in the hip, and fold down. If you want to be nice and warm, we could take a headstand. Absolutely no need to if you don't want to. So if you do, opposite arm, opposite elbow, and then clasp your hands together rather than having them wide. I've said this before, you will have heard me and everyone else say have them wide, but in Awakening we do like to clasp the hands for a little bit more stability. And then you're going to bring the head down onto the crown of the head. Maybe you're going to come into this from the wide leg position. Maybe you're going to keep your legs nice and wide the whole time. Squeeze your glutes. Be here for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, and on 1. Slowly lower down. Come back up. If you did the clasp of the hands, leave me a comment. Let me know how you got on. It can feel funky at first, but in the long run, it's going to be great. So it's going to give you a bit more stability and a bit more push. So keep working with that and let me know how you get on. I'm intrigued. When I first started doing that, I was like, this is an interesting switch up. Okay, from here, you're going to scoot your feet in a couple of times so that you can start to come into your goddess stance. So just a bit wider than active squat for most people here. And again, we want that hinge to be from the hip. So side on, what we want to avoid, what I want you to think about is not this, where I've got my tailbone tucked under. I want to think about just slightly elevating the tailbone. And if that means that your chest has to come kind of parallel with the ground, that's totally fine. But we're not looking to tuck the tailbone. And you may need to look in the mirror to see the difference, but you'll feel the difference. So this is tucked and this is untucked. And that's where we want to go here. Hold this space. Take some nice long breaths. And then stay here for a little bit, coming in and out of it. Or set yourself up for Basana. So Basana, we're going to walk the feet in closer. And then take the arms as close to the legs as we can. If you can, you're going to get your the tops of your shoulders underneath your arms. Underneath your legs, which can be tricky. So you want to fold as deeply as you can. Plant your hands down facing forward, fingers facing forward, behind the heels. Now you've got to take the weight back here, otherwise you can't pick the feet up. So now start to kind of lean back with the butt so that you can lift the feet. And maybe you want to stop here in a variation of Burghley. Or maybe you want to start to open the legs. And they don't need to go perfectly straight, mine never do. You can just play with that, see what happens. If you're here, be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, on 3, on 2. On 1, bring the feet back down. Come back all the way. Come all the way up to stand. Whew, shake the legs out, shake the hips. Do whatever's going to feel nice there. Awesome. Then come to the top of your mat. Take your feet nice and wide. Slowly lower down into your yogi squat. We'll take a couple of circle wheels just because. So starting over onto the right, so start swaying. And then you're going to let your right hand go behind you, lift your hips up, coming into this half wheel, and then coming back, push off your right hand, and then round to the left. And you can go from side to side. If you want to take the full circles, make sure to look at the hand that's in the air all the time so you don't get stuck. So we don't want to stay in Urdhva Dhanurasana in wheel. We want to land one hand, land the other hand, pick up the hand. So it's a quick 1, 2, 1, 2. The theory behind the circle wheel, I'll talk as I'm doing it. The theory behind the circle wheel is that it's like two halves of the circle where you meet different things on the way. And it's a bit like taking a plane ticket where it's a return ticket. It's not a one-way ticket. So you do want to come up, come over, come into the wheel and push back out of it. Whew, that is a lot harder to do when I'm talking so much. I hope you found that fun. Drop your butt to the mat. Draw your knees into your chest, roll back. Notice how you feel in this moment. Notice if there was some points throughout or some moments throughout the practice where you managed to be really in the present moment. Maybe it's when you were trying to keep the leg really straight as we brought it forward to the top of the mat. I always think it's impossible to think about anything else in those moments, but that's just because that's a challenge for me. Maybe it was in the Basana, maybe it was in the circle wheel. But just reflect. Hopefully you found a few moments in this practice where you were able to just be in the here and now, not thinking about anything else. Find your final place of rest, of Savasana. For me, my hips feel really nice and warm and juicy now. They've been cooked a bit, so I'm going to take Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees out wide, but you can take whatever feels good. And actually what might feel really nice is if you did have the blanket at the beginning, then grab the blanket, roll it up like we did, or like you might have for the pigeon, and just pop it underneath your knees, and then let your feet go wide into Shavasana. That always feels nice for me on the front of the hips, just to relax. So have a go at that maybe and see if that gives you some nice support in your Shavasana. Hopefully it does. Allow your body to just melt here into the mat. As always, I won't stay very long with you in this Shavasana, but I do really encourage you to stay for as long as you have. This practice was intended to be a feel-good flow, and one of the joys of that is to really marinate the energy in a beautifully long Shavasana. So I hope that you find the time to do that if you've stuck with it until now. As always, it's an absolute joy to share your practice with you today on the platform. Until we see you again on the mat, from all three of us, have a beautiful rest of your day, yogi.